today, which I'll get to in just a second, but there was a conveyance that didn't even identify who the grantor was. They listed Karnes County in the state of Texas, and Karnes City IC in the top, and then as far as conveying, they didn't put anything in the body. It finally got corrected, but it was those types of non-traditional conveyances that simply wouldn't pass muster with any title company or anybody getting it and accepting the property. Those types of conveyances that created these little problem children that we are trying to figure out how best to get them back on the tax roll. I think originally there was 30-something that we had talked about through the months, through the past years, and I think we've got those carved down to about 36. What I will tell you, and this is something that really is for the benefit of the next few meetings that we'll have. It gives a fairly detailed analysis of specific deeds that created problems, but of those 36-ish properties, 13 of them I've brought to the court today, where I'm comfortable telling the court that these are county-owned properties. They were conveyed to the county, and if you go back into the 90s, I don't know for certain what the intent of the parties was. There was an acceptance back on some of these properties where clearly the county accepted it as a outright conveyance to the county. The 13 properties today that I'm presenting were previously part of the sealed bid process that has been set aside that cannot happen, but there are 13 of them that I'm coming to you today to say, let's do this, hopefully approval of these 13, and then after we sell these, hopefully in August, we'll come to you presenting about another 10, and hopefully by the next 12 months, we'll get all of these little problem children taken care of and find them a new home. The properties today, they are all situated within Karnes City. They're vacant lots. There's been interest expressed by adjoining property owners. And I'm going to tell you one of them, if you look at, I think I've got the order with the Exhibit A that I'll be asking you to approve. If you look at item T24, and that's the map item, the very one at the bottom, and I think y'all have this in your paperwork, that T numbering is my internal numbering, just so that when I talk to you, I can say, hey, this is the 24th one. The reason I have T12 and T24, and you go, well, what happened to T1 through T11? Those are really problem children that need to be, I'm going to have one of the, hopefully, local title companies look at it and go, okay, if y'all are ever going to try to convey these, this is probably the steps that should be taken. Now, having said that, that's really just so that there's not just an absolute nightmare when these properties get conveyed. But the things that I want to emphasize that are of most significance, on the 13 items of the properties that I'm proposing that we move forward and that we sell, keep in mind, some of these, they were acquired by quitclaim, they were acquired by deficient titles. We have them. Under no circumstance would the county want to sell these under a warranty deed. The county, as the owner, has the right to say, we're going to sell these and we're going to let everybody know. There's not going to be any sneaky, clever, more, figured out. We're going to let everybody know if you've got a title issue, we're handing this to you without warranties, without assurances of title. I'll guarantee you, adjoining landowners, I've had conversations with some, they don't care. They know that they want the surface estates. So it's not going to be something where we're trying to dump anything. It's we're going to get them back on the roll. We also don't want to have a higher level of conveyance than we got. If we acquired it through a quitclaim, why are we going to step out there and say, oh, let's assure and guarantee title? No, we're going to convey these, and the conversation that we're having right now will be had at the time of sale to say, as is, where is, no warranties, no assurances of quality of title. If you want the surface estate, good. The other key point too, and the reason I haven't brought some of the actual trust properties out of that list to you today, trust properties that were struck off to a sheriff's deed, there's an attorney general's opinion out there that says, okay, mineral reservation, not certain you can do that. You probably have to convey whatever you acquired. That still needs to be litigated in court, but it doesn't need to be litigated in Karnes because we sell properties, those properties right now. These properties, county owned, I'm gonna recommend to the court two things. One, you sell them without warranties and representations, and two, you retain the minerals. Some of these probably don't have mineral, so it's not like I'm going, oh boy, you're holding a big, the golden egg here. If you lease these properties, there's already a contract out there. It's just you're not going to have to undo anything that you've done. Some of these may not factor in at all, and as small as these lots are, it's going to be trivial sums, is my guess. So what I would like, and there's another item on here that we'll get to as far as the process, but what I'd like to do is offer up on Exhibit A the 13 properties, I think that's right. 13 properties. Now I will tell you that item 24 is noteworthy. You see that I don't put any comments. I put opening bids, comments in the far right column. These are all going to be the same processes where we would offer them up through actually city commissioner, which we'll talk about having to appoint. Because this is county-owned property, it would not be the sheriff that handled our last tax sale and who handles our tax sales where we go in and foreclose taxing. These are county-owned property, different set of rules apply. You have to have a city commissioner appointed, and jumping ahead to the next item, it's not going to be something we're going to dump it into one of the commissioner's laps and say, figure it out. It'll be just like I work hand in hand with the sheriff. We handle the paperwork, we handle all the responsibilities and make certain that the presiding officer oversees it. But what I would ask the court to consider on these 13 items, and I'll again go back to 24 where you see no deed could be located, and I've had my abstractor try to find it. I've looked. That property has an adjoining property owner who says, man, I want this property. I have put blood, sweat, and tears into leveling some property, doing some things. He wants this property, and I will make sure, and I think he already knows, there's no deed. Well, guess what? It'll be here in 100 years if we don't take action and get it into the hands of somebody that can put it back on the tax roll and they start having an adverse possession claim running. So we have a buyer. There's not going to be any it'll be fully disclosed that there is no deed. If we can't find one, I don't think anybody else is going to find one. So I would propose that the court consider approving the resale through a city commissioner of all 13 items. We fully disclose, no warranties, no assurances of quality title, it's surface estate only, and as to item T24, there's no deed. You're going to be getting it, and you can run title, you can develop adverse possession. What the court needs to decide is the opening bid. And I will tell you, I've put down here on what's in your packet, a 2025 appraisal district preliminary value. That's not the certified roll. And I will tell you that I know that the last package you got, these have been increased at the appraisal district level. But because you're reserving minimal, because you're doing it without warranties or representation, I don't think you ought to be asking fair market value. You need to come up with, and that's certainly within the discretion of the court, a number, a percentage, because we're not talking about taxes owed. These have all been held and they've been off the roll forever. A percentage of the value to assign as an opening bid. And I always say this because I think we've done public sales here, but I've done public sales in the other 6 counties that I work, where sometimes we've started out as low as 10%, sometimes 25. And it's not like, boy, that's what it's got to sell for. We're going to advertise in the newspaper for 3 consecutive weeks. We're going to have packets handed out at, Michelle will have a stack. Hopefully we'll have it at the tax office, and we'll let everybody have an opportunity to come down here. And so if it gets bid up because there's interest, it gets bid up. I would propose probably, because we sure want to get these back on the roll, I would propose a 25%. I'm not a realtor. I'm not a title guy. That's something that, it's worked. If you think it needs to be lower, if you think it needs to be higher, boy, that's not an issue that I would ever debate. I'm just throwing out a number to say, I have seen a number that ensures that we get the property resold, that sometimes there's going to be deals to be had, and if there's extreme interest, man, there's nothing like a feeding frenzy at an auction where people go, oh, I want it, and sometimes you end up selling it for the appraised value. So what I would propose is the court, if they're willing, the court's ready to go forward with these 13 properties, approve the order as worded, and I think the order that you see, I make certain that we say minimal acceptable price. Y'all need to come up with a percentage. I would propose 25%, and I would submit whatever numbers agreed upon. I will submit something for the court to sign off on where we fill in the blanks, and I'll submit it later today. I think I've just got a blank right there. But 25% of the appraised value to get bid up. Hopefully some get bid up, some probably won't. So it's a surplus state and it's sold as is. That would be the first item for the court to approve, and then if the court does approve it, the court's going to need to come up with a sitting commissioner, simply because the code does not allow the sheriff to handle sales of property owned outright by the county. And again, the sitting commissioner, I promise whoever y'all select, I'm going to do all the paperwork. They're going to be in direct communication with me. Their responsibility will make certain they preside over it, that I get the stuff in the newspaper published timely for 3 consecutive weeks, and that they show up on the date of the sale, which will be August 5th, and they just read a little verbiage and offer them up for sale, and I'll be right there. So it's not going to be something where I'm trying to get somebody else to clear my water. It's just, we're following a different procedure, and Sheriff Beatty won't be involved until we get to the next round of trust properties. So, said everything that I possibly could think of saying. If y'all got any questions, happy to address it. Otherwise, it's a open motion to approve the sale of the properties with an opening bid at 25% of the appraised value, or whatever the court decides.
Court?
Mr. Barnes, I spent some time looking over all these in the appraisal district's map, and they're all small properties, like vacant 1.6 acre lots. The biggest one I see is it's not 0.16 acres. And the biggest I saw was 0.35 acres. I agree with you about the value, the appraised value. A lot of these lots are like landlocked between other lots. You couldn't do a whole lot with it by yourself. So I agree with you on the 25% would probably be a good place to start. I have concerns about 1023. If I'm not mistaken, that is this lot that is right here behind us, between Mr. Cruz's property and a parking lot. Is that accurate?
Well, let me tell you that the map would be my best knowledge of its location. If it's one where you say, man, the county may have use for it, I will tell you, we found one that was on the list that Tammy pointed out is the old bibs where y'all store your records. So I went, oops, item P11 is no longer on the list. So this is also a discussion, and I appreciate that, Commissioner. If you've identified a property that if the county may have use for it and you simply don't want it out there, then I would say let's make certain that we remove it, and we can always come back and revisit the issue. But if we offer it up for sale and then go, oh my God, we could have actually used that, then it's going to be too late. So I would suggest, and appreciate you mentioning that, because I wasn't aware of its the geography. If it's one we need to remove, I would say we would approve it subject to T23 being removed from the list.
Without more research, I want to strike T23 because I have 2 concerns. It looks like Mr. Cruz's shed is actually placed on this property, and I think that was an issue we should address if someone else's property is placed on county property already. And furthermore, we've talked many times about we don't even have the parking out here behind the building sometimes. I'd be content to maybe lease the property to Mr. Cruz until at a future time maybe he wants to sell the property to the county or his residence. I don't know. We might be able to use that property in the future. I think it would be bad to sell T23 at this time.
I would wholeheartedly agree based on what you've stated, because that you have much more in-depth information on that one. And all I would ask is, can I borrow a pen? Here's what I'll do. So unless there's opposition, I'm clearly going to strike 223, and any order that I'm going with the order that I'll be presenting to the court will remove item T23. We're down to 12 properties, and then it would be a motion to approve the sale of the remaining 12 properties with an opening bid to start at 1 or 25% of the appraised value.
Any other discussion from the court?
You mentioned 13 properties. There's more than 13 on the list. These are from the previous.
Okay, so not the ones that I just gave y'all. That's the list of all the problem children. There's also in there, there is an order that y'all, hopefully is in y'all's packet. If not,
It's in the,
Oh, okay.
in your,
my apologies, I didn't bring copies.
no, it's in there, it's in their package.
So the reference, so this one, Commissioner, is kind of the laundry list of, and it gives you details and why I'm telling you, man, these are problem children, you're gonna need to get the title company, hopefully look at some of these. This is all of the 36, I think is the number of those properties. And there's gonna be some that later we'll be talking to the sheriff about, selling because they're actual trust properties that got struck off through a sheriff's deed. And then there's some that are really kind of bizarre conveyances where, you know, the title, the grantor's names weren't identified and had to be corrected. That's that list, and my apologies. There's, the ones today are just on this order authorizing public auction for county-owned real estate, and these 13 properties. Yes, sir. And then that would be the one that would, we would use to work off of for any motion to approve the order and the attached exhibit A, which would be down to 12. We'll remove the next to the last one, which is T23. I would remove that, and I would, subject to approval, present that to the judge with my calculation. I'll have to go get the calculator because I don't do math well in my head, but I'll put it down at 25% if that's what the court agrees to.
Judge, the only thing I have to say about this is getting the properties back on the tax roll, that's always been 100% good. I always like that. But in history, I've always sat here, well, not always, but I've sat here for a long time in Commissioner's Court, and I've always fought for whoever, if you look back on the records, I've always voted for whoever buys these properties should get the mineral rights, because they're the ones that are maintaining the yards, they maintain the properties for a long time. And if you remember, when Albert Jonas was here, and this would always come up, I never, as a city commissioner here, voted to go ahead and not give the people that buy the properties the mineral rights, just because it's a small portion, and whoever buys it, I think should be getting that, and not the county. That's only, I know I work for the county and I defend the county, but on something like this, we also defend the public too. And I've always fought for the public on something like this. If you look back, I've always, for 27 years, always said that whoever buys the properties should get the mineral rights, that the county should not. I lose on it all the time, but I'm still gonna state the way I feel about that.
And I would say,
If they have any.
no, and that's certainly the court's, within the court's discretion. I would say that the amounts that, because of the size of these lots, we're probably talking, in some instances, no royalty monies. I mean, it may be an issue that, it may be a fight that doesn't need to be had as far as, and your argument is sound. There's no, it's hard to argue against that, and it may certainly increase the bid price at opening at the tax sale, is if they know. And again, I think like what you said, 0.16. I don't think anybody's going to even be able to hardly pay for gas to San Antonio, and the royalty money still be getting off of that. So that's totally wide open, because the issue now, warranties, representations, again, we got it by quitclaim. We would want to sell it without warranties or assurances. As far as mineral, then that would just be the motion, depending on how the court decides, would be just to sell these items, the entire estate, because I'll also tell you, we're not guaranteeing that there's any minerals with this. If the minerals got severed, which they very well could have on a lot of these, I don't run mineral title on surface estate. So conveying it with mineral, it may be added, it may very well not. And is it something to add just a little bit where maybe somebody goes, man, we'll jump it up. We can put extra money in our coffers right now. Sound argument. So it would be up to the court to decide, again, we'll sell it without warranties, but sell not only the service, but sell the whole bundle of rights. Whatever we've got, we'll convey, so that would be however the court decides.
Where does that go, where does that leave the county as far as doing the title work and the transfer of minerals? Who, if we were to sell that, who has to pay for that on this point?
You won't pay anything, because what we'll do is it'll be just like with the sheriff's deeds. I will prepare the deeds, and there simply won't be language reserving mineral. It will be a standard resale deed that cites, instead of the code provision 34.05, if you look at what I gave you today, instead of citing that 34.05 when the sheriff handles sales, it'll cite this 263.01. I don't do a lot of sales. I've done a couple under the local government code where it's county owned as opposed to trust property, but there won't be any title work done. It'll be, what we've got is what we're handing you over, and it's as is where it is. There'll be no assurances, there'll be no title policies. We will prepare the deed, I'll prepare the deed, it won't cost the county, and it will simply not reserve mineral. And if you don't reserve mineral, you're giving them whatever you've got. So it should be at no additional expense and no additional effort, other than in the deed, simply don't have reservation.
Judge.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
The reason I'm saying this is because I just like John stated right there that they're so minute, and you probably get a small check if gas would be enough to go to San Antonio or something. But I have a lot of friends lots of friends that don't have that much money, and when they get a little royalty check of $60, $70, it may be a meal for one of us, but it's not just a meal for just everybody. It's $50, $60 when they get it. I've heard them say, hey, I get my royalty check, it's $60, I get to go to this and that. I understand that it's not that much money nowadays, but I have a lot of friends, lots of friends that don't have a lot of money, and something like that is worth a lot to them. And again, if we would do it, either way we do it, I'm fine with it. Of course, you know the way I'm thinking, and that's the way I've stuck for 20-something years, and I'm sticking like that today. But if we would do something like not reserve the mineral rights and everything, I think we would have to tell them each one that has mineral rights, because we couldn't put it out there. Somebody's thinking, well, I might have the mineral rights. They bid up higher there, they don't have that much money, and then there's no mineral rights on that, and they bid it up $800, $1,000, and that affects them. As against, like John said, he can go back. Can you go back and find out if they have mineral rights, if we place it with minerals to get more money for them?
That would be kind of extensive, you know. I'll just say this, it's hard, you know, it's a challenge sometimes to, mineral title is much more in-depth. I've never done it, I'd have to find somebody, and it's much more involved, even just on a standard services day. When you've already got problem title, I would say, I'll make it very clear at the sale and the commission, because as you know, I'll get into it and tell everybody, you know, how the watch was built at the sale. And I'll make sure everybody understands, you know, you're gonna get whatever county, the bundled rights the county has, and if they've got minerals, you get them. If they don't have them, you'll find out when you talk to the oil and gas company about acquiring the property. So I think that would be the safest way to proceed, as opposed to trying to assure and guarantee them anything. Is just say, yes, to the extent y'all got them, or we got them, you're getting them. We're not reserving anything.
Whatever we have.
Yeah, whatever we got, you're getting, but we're not gonna guarantee anything.
Understand.
But I think there's value. I think there's gonna be increased value at in the bidding process.
And that's
Once you get-
that's my concern, to talk about what Commissioner Rosales is talking about. If you go and you're gonna sell with potential minerals, are you gonna get then investors come in when Joe Blow has been taking care of that piece of property for 20 years and has been eyeing it this whole time, and then you get somebody that, oh, the county's selling, we saw it 2 months ago whenever we were selling just a royalty interest that went for, there's a piece of property, there's another piece of property that went for crazy money, that you're going to eliminate then those friends, our friends, that have been taking care of that property, because you're gonna have somebody that comes in that has the money and says, I'm gonna come and buy this as an investment. I don't care what happens to the surface of it. I'm gonna buy it, and I'm gonna be able to outbid. I know I can outbid Joe Blow that's been taking care of this the whole time. So that's my concern with whenever you offer it with the minerals, the minute mineral interest that potentially is there, you're going to eliminate those folks that have been keeping up that property, that they don't have money. I mean, you just said it, that $70 to them is a big deal. Maybe they've been saving up whatever they could save whenever this does come up. And that way you eliminate an investor to come in that's gonna say, I'm buying it strictly to get the minerals, potential minerals.
And let me just add this, kind of dovetail both of those comments, because I think they're both solid arguments. One of the things that you can always do, if you were to sell without minerals, you can always choose to come back and revisit if a purchaser of that property comes back to you and says, oh, by the way, and I'm telling you, this is not playing, this is playing preferential treatment to the people who live in this community. And that's kind of, I think, what we're all here on. If you want to avoid investors from California or Korea or wherever, you sell properties, you sell the surface estate, and then if somebody wants to come back and say, hey, I bought this property, I'd sure like to just kind of bundle the sticks together. They can come back on a later date and petition the court and say, we'd like to buy our mill. And then y'all can decide how much is that worth. We're going to make a conveyance of those minerals at that time. And I think you can accomplish actually both goals. And, you know, if this is being picked up in Korea, then so be it.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea, but it could open up a can, because we own right now a lot of the a lot of county roads and everything, and they'll be visiting us too about selling the mineral rights. If we sell the mineral rights to somebody, and there's a certain way, you go back about 3 years of what the mineral rights were worth at that time, that's what you can sell it for, something like that. And, you know, get everybody that we own something, that they own something, that they're gonna be here at the same time. That's gonna open a bigger can than just selling them all out. In my opinion. I just threw it out there. Like I said, I always, you know, it doesn't matter. But it does matter to me, but I've already stated what I think.
As a property owner who lives on a surface estate that doesn't own mineral rights, it really frustrates me at times having to deal with that situation. Personally, I'd love to see that mineral rights couldn't be separated from property, but that's just not the way it is anymore. And so to sell the property now and include the mineral rights, just no one here would do that with their own property. And I think it wouldn't be the right way to do it for the county as well. I'm all for letting the individuals who own the property get more out of their investment, but I share concerns with, I looked at these properties and I was happy that Mr. Banks suggested 25%, because to me, none of these properties had value to me at all. And I'd love to invest in real estate, but none of these would do anything for me. I'd hate to see someone come in and create a bidding war, buy these properties just for the mineral rights, and then it sits there vacant or becomes another trash heap. I'd love to see people who live close by buy them, develop them, and enjoy the use of that property. And I think the best way to do that is to keep the minerals with the county, if we have them, and to sell these properties starting bid of 25% of their appraised value.
Is that a motion?
Is there any other discussion? I mean, if there's any other discussion, I don't know. I don't want to interrupt.
Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
No, I agree with what everybody said here. It's definitely difficult not to crack. I agree with Commissioner Gonzalez, and if someone's buying the property, they should reap the benefits of what's underneath the ground. Having said that, Commissioner Adjournment and Judge Adkey both, bring up fighting scenarios. So it definitely is something that I don't think you can make a right choice, but it's something that we at some point have to look at what's best for our county, and try to make that decision there.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve the 12 properties here to be sold at auction with a minimal acceptable price of 25% of the appraised value, 2025 appraised value.
I'll second.
With
With the county retaining mineral limits.
Okay, we've got a motion, is there still a second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? Commissioner Rosales is opposed. Motion carries 4-1. Thank you, John. Could you say that?
I will prepare an order that reflects the motion, and that, I think you also mentioned it, and as we, said and repeated that, it will be so without one of these expressions on it.
Correct. Okay, item number 14, discuss/take possible action appointing city commissioner to take all steps necessary to sell county-owned properties at public auction pursuant to section 263.001 of the Texas Local Government Code. John, I have a question before you get started. If that commissioner that is appointed, could that commissioner, if they were interested in buying these properties, any of these properties, would that exclude them from bidding on properties?
So let me say this is a unique situation. Number one, my attitude's always been, when you go and you put it out there and you advertise it and you're telling the world, we're gonna be selling these properties, you wanna maximize revenue for the entities. So the only folks in a tax sale, I'm gonna use the analogy with the tax sale, the only two folks under case law that are prohibited from participating in a tax sale, myself and that young man right there, the sheriff, because they don't want collusion between the tax lawyer and the sheriff. I've had city officials, county officials, school officials buy properties at a tax sale. There is nothing, because nobody dictates, and I always make certain my clients know, don't call me up and tell me you're upset with your neighbor, let's sue them. Y'all have no control over, and you never have, and nor would you want it, over who we file lawsuits against. So could that sitting commissioner bid on it? I would say the analogy would be that, as close as I can come to, is the officer presiding over the sale should not bid on property tax sales. So I would say it's probably best that where the properties are located, that sitting commissioner not be the commissioner appointed, and then there would be no prohibition against anyone other than the commissioner who presides over it to bid on the properties. So if you got one commissioner who has nothing to do with where these properties are located, and they don't want to bid on the property, that's your ideal candidate. Because anybody can come in and bid.
I think part of it's in yours, none's in yours,
All these are precinct.
2 and 3.
With this, if we appoint a city commissioner here to take care of this, is it only going to affect the 12 properties now, or is it going to affect other properties?
Okay, so this will affect, the appointment is only for the 12 today. Because the next time I come to you, the next batch is gonna be properties that I'll work with Sheriff Bailey on. Those are gonna be the actual trust properties, and most of those, none of those really are in Karnes City. This is kind of the other Karnes City property is the one that I said you need underwriter review, because the title is an absolute show. That's the one where the original deed didn't identify the grantor. It was prepared by an executive to a mistake. They just wanted to probably finish his duties and move on with life, and that was 25 years ago. But the next bundle of properties, I'll work with the sheriff on when y'all approve it. So today's decision and appointment applies to these 12 tracts, and that will be the extent of the responsibility. And as I had alluded to earlier, whoever that sitting commissioner is will not be, here you go, good luck. We'll handle the paperwork, we'll make certain that we coordinate, but we'll make certain that all the newspaper notices are timely published, and that the sale is conducted in an appropriate manner.
All right, Commissioner Precinct 1 or Precinct 4, who wants to raise their hand and volunteer?
Gentlemen, I'm happy to let anyone here do it if they want, but I have no interest in purchasing these properties. So if y'all would like to appoint me to that, I do it.
That's fine with me.
I appreciate it. You were getting ready to make a motion for David to do that.
Move on, next.
All right, we need a motion then for item number 14.
I make the motion that we appoint David as the city commission to take all necessary,
I'll second.
all steps necessary to sell county-owned properties at public auction pursuant to section 263.001 of Texas Local Government Code.
And I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Does
Thank
the
you.
motion need to state that it's only for the 12 properties listed?
Only for the 12 properties.
Okay, and you're still seconding that amended motion.
Yes, sir.
You got that too.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Banks, thank you.
Thank y'all for your time, and I'll get you, I'll draw up an order off with Michelle as soon as I can get to the laptop and get it done.
Very good.
And I'll make sure that I send Ms. Toppy a copy of the revised document. Thank you, and I look forward to working with you. I'll send you stuff and you take care of it.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, John. Item number 15, discuss, approve, disapprove obtaining outside legal counsel regarding environmental concerns relating to Conquista project. Commissioner Lissy.
Hey, I'm gonna request we go to closed session and confer with our county attorney.
Okay, you need to make that pursuant to the legality of going into closed session.
Regarding environmental concerns relating to the Conquista project.
Pursuant
Obtaining
to,
outside legal counsel.
pursuant to,
Code 5.
So I think we want.
Second.
okay. We will convene into executive session. It is 9:46. Commissioner Blanchard, to the, real quick, before we reconvene, I'll return to you. Okay, welcome back, everybody. It is 10:13. We'll reconvene into regular open session. Okay, item number 15, discuss, approve, disapprove, obtaining outside legal counsel regarding environmental concerns relating to Keystone Project. Commissioner Lissy.
After discussing it, no action will be taken on this item at this time.
Okay, item number 16, acknowledge the transfer of 2014 Brown Chevy pickup, VIN number 1GCRCREC6EZ219697 from the Sheriff's Office to the County Maintenance Department. Sheriff.
Yes, sir. This vehicle was transferred to the maintenance department from the last administration, but we need to acknowledge it through Commissioner's Court, so we'd like to do that today.
Done. Thank you, Sheriff. Item number 17, discuss, approve, disapprove emergency replacement in county jail facility consisting of replacing one 8.5-ton RTU for $29,767 even. Purchasing new unit system versus repairing 10-year-old unit is more cost effective. Cost totaling $29,767 to be expensed from contingency fund line item 100-409-4997. Sheriff.
Yes, in this case, so the repairing this unit was pushing about half the cost of the new one. So met with you on the issue and would like to go ahead and replace this unit that's 10 years old, so we won't have more issues out of it.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 17 as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Just a little bit more discussion on item number 17. Sheriff has came to talk to me about those air conditioners. We are budgeting for significant repair on that. I'm still waiting on the report on from the jail. Commissioner Lissy kind of hit that up. The sheriff and I are awaiting that so we can get started on those repairs. Okay. Item number 18, discuss, approve, disapprove payment to Bearcom in the amount of $15,263.08 for past due invoice 5790943 from fiscal year 24 that have remained unpaid. Products were ordered and received by previous administration on/after March 28, 2024. The PO for that is 560000463. If approved, payment will be made out of GL 100-409-4997. It's a contingency fund. Sure.
Yes, sir. So these 4 mobile radios were purchased by the last administration with an order date of 3/28/24 and invoice date of 9/26/24. The radios were already installed in 4 patrol units, which we do have in possession right now. We do have those radios. They were taken out and the new radios were put in.
Just a comment. We did go over there yesterday and identified them, we tagged them, they were in the back. I did reach out to Bearcom as well, because I take pride in making sure stuff is paid timely in law office, wanted to find out what the disconnect was. After talking to them, I got us an issue of $2,100 credit because they never did the install. So this, the amount that they're gonna be paying today is going to be $13,167.
What was the amount,
The
Tom?
amount, Commissioner, was $13,163.08. They gave us a credit for $1,800 for the install and $300 travel.
Are we able to approve that as amended?
Yes, you can amend it.
Okay. What was the total amount again, Tom?
13,163.08.
I find it frustrating that we keep getting old bills from a year ago from previous admin. And I don't want our county to say, we come to other people, place that doesn't pay their bills, then we're not gonna be able to do business with anybody. I called Bearcom myself and I talked to our representative over there and I said, is this the last bill? Because we had this happen last month where we had a Motorola radio that they didn't send us a bill for, we didn't even know we had it until someone started doing some investigating. So I was advised by Bearcom that this would clear up our account. We do not owe them any of the money.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? Action item number 18.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Sidebar. What do we do with the old radios?
So we have a plan form. So we can use them as a backup radios in case one of the truck radios goes down. We can also use the radios in our command trailer to give us individual multi-channel workstations that we can utilize during a major incident, which we currently do not have.
Oh, thank you, I was just curious.
I make the motion to approve payment to Veracom, not in the amount of originally $15,263.08, but of $13,163.08.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? None. Motion carries. Item number 19. Thank you, Sheriff. Item number 19, discuss, approve, disapprove, executing contract to purchase property in Gillette, total of $55,000 for EMS expansion project in Gillette, Texas. If item approved, payment will be expended from GL 100-500-4604, property acquisitions. We budgeted for this last year. It's something that myself and I know that some of the commissioners were looking for other properties in the Gillette area to fill this need. This opportunity presented itself and then did not present itself and then re-presented itself. And after doing a ton of due diligence, working with the county attorney, getting contract put together, the other entities that own the property have their attorneys review it and put it on actual real estate commission form. So that's what this is. We have, when Casey and I and Commissioner Beatrice has been involved with it since he's been in office, started talking about the EMS training facility in Kennedy that we were working on and continue to budget for. This was included in that. We have some preliminary designs. We've met out at Gillette with the locals, with the fire department, and so it's, I believe this is a major service that we can provide to the Gillette, the folks up at the Panhandle, as they call it.
How big is it?
3.1 acres, I believe. So
I make the motion to approve item number 19 as presented.
I'll second.
I have some more comments.
okay, we have.
I have been involved with the EMS training facility, but I have not seen any plans for what we plan to do in Gillette. I agree that Gillette needs these services, but until yesterday, I didn't even know where the property was or how many acres it was for $55,000. I'm not comfortable at this time voting yes or no, because I don't know that this is the best plan for the county. I, again, agree we need the facilities, but not far from there, we have a road and bridge yard that I could foresee putting a small office there in place to park an EMS unit. Those are options I'd like to explore. I'd like to know, I haven't had a chance to visit with Mr. Ingram yet on what his plans were to build out there. But if we're gonna vote on this item today, I don't believe I have information to vote properly, and I will abstain from voting.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? One abstains. Motion carries. We'll get that contract executed. Item number 20, discuss, approve, disapprove proposal in
today as well. Lacey with Matt was not able to make it, but if you give me a second, I'm gonna pass around some numbers. What you're looking at are the renewal rates for Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance. That would be through TAP. There are no plan changes. It's all going to be remaining the same. However, of course, as agreed upon last year, we're resetting our deductible year to October 1st. So this was a short plan year. They prorated our deductibles. Our deductibles will be moving back to the $1,000 and $3,000 as of October 1st. This is a 6.2 increase based on our claims loss ratio, and our renewal rate is going to be an extra $45 and 3 cents a month. Do y'all have any questions?
I don't, but I sat with Lacey and Ted.
I mean, like I said, there will be no changes to the insurance except we're going to move to the full regular deductibles for this plan year because it will be a full 12 months.
If court remembers, we had somehow at some point, and I believe it was on the majority of this court's maybe, Commissioner Rosales, myself, Commissioner Lissy, at some point that our plan got moved to a January 1, which renewal date, which really kind of put the county in a bind as far as being able to go out for renewals to test the waters. And so that is why we work with TAC, work with Jess and Virginia's here, work with them, and we're able to again do what's best for our county employees, and TAC was the way to go.
And so I'm going to move forward. I don't have numbers per se to present to you because Guardian is offering to cover our ancillary products again, our vision, dental, life insurance, short-term, long-term disability, accident, critical illness, and cancer insurances. No rate changes. The one thing that we are looking at making a change though with them is moving to that same October 1st deductible plan year to coincide with our budget year to make accounting-wise it would be easier for budgeting purposes.
Absolutely.
This is just, what I thought, but we're not reviewing this,
We are renewing this. They do have a deadline of June 21st to sign the renewal. The judge would be the one to sign it with Commissioner's Court approving it. And that's why I'm presenting at this meeting instead of waiting until the 24th, because if you do have any questions or need anything, that will give us time to get more information.
And did we shop it around at all?
No, we did not. When we, I wasn't here in this capacity last year at this time when this was presented, but when we signed up with CAP and agreed to go with them, we pretty much agreed to do an automatic renewal with them because of the shortened plan year and their willingness to work with us on that October 1st.
That's
We've only been with them for
Not even 9 months. It's a 9-month year and we're in the 6th month now.
I'll make the motion to approve item number 20 as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Next item, we are not going to do the consent agenda. Somebody saw that and caught it, and Ms. Hopkins sent me an email yesterday. I'm not going to say what I really need to say, but if anybody has questions about that. The reason for us not doing the consent agenda is because whenever I made some edits to the agenda before it was posted, gave it back to Michelle to make those edits, the Civic Plus platform that the county uses right now somehow switched the actual reports. It was not blank, but it moved the reports above the consent agenda instead of being below the consent agenda. So that's why we will not take any action on the consent agenda. That is the explanation, that this will be put back on the agenda for the consent agenda for the end of the month agenda. If anybody has questions about that, please feel free to come by my office or talk to the county attorney or both of us. I will be happy to inform you more on what's going on with that. Item number 22, I'm sorry, we will not do. Item number 23, updates from our commissioners, starting with precinct 1.
Thank you, sir. Since our last Commissioners Court, I met with a couple of residents on County Roads 394 and 395 to discuss their concerns with signs, entryways, and drainage. I discussed their concerns with our road and bridge engineer who created maintenance tickets to inspect and address their concerns. I updated the residents with road and bridge's plans and provided them with a copy of our county's driveway regulations. I attended the Karnes City Council meeting. I've met with several individuals and representatives from the Karnes County Humane Society to discuss animal control in Karnes County. I met with an individual about concerns over development around their residence south of Kennedy. The Karnes County Food Bank distribution took a lot of my attention over the last weeks. I had residents reaching out about the county's food council and had several conversations with the food bank, pre-planning for the county's distribution on June 2nd. At that distribution, we served 128 local families, and the summer meals program provided 1,010 prepackaged meals for children. Yesterday, I helped at the City of Kennedy's quarterly food bank distribution. Although I don't have numbers on how many families were served, we all noticed that this is the largest turnout that they've ever seen. I spent time at the offices of the square while it was raining to check on our new roofs and the deck cover. While I was talking with juvenile probation, I asked them about the Tahoe they had parked back behind the building. With the help of our auditor's office, we've determined that the vehicle was previously declared surplus, and we will be able to sell it at a future surplus auction. I had residents reach out about County Roads 191, 192, and 153. I drove these roads to inspect them and met with the road and bridge engineer to discuss their condition. My family and I worked at trash pickup on 99. We filled 27 large trash bags. It gets a bit discouraging how much trash ends up on the side of our roads, so I encourage everyone to please secure your load and keep our county clean. Elections is working to verify all voters are registered in the correct precinct. I met with our elections administrator about a few residents who were found to be incorrectly registered in the wrong voting precinct. These residents live along boundary lines where, depending on which side of the road you live, affects your voting precinct. This will not affect our past elections, and we will be contacting these individuals to provide them with updated voter registration cards. I have a to-do list that continues to grow, so please stay patient with me as I work through it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Precinct 2.
All right, first of all, I'd like to thank all of our county employees. County Road 254 is finishing up drainage and signage drainage and signage will start. Paving next week, weather permitting. County Road 264 is finished, it looks really good. County Road 253 is having issued notice to proceed. County Road 207 has had issued notice to proceed. And CK Newberry is doing the work on all 4 of those projects. Road and Bridge has started in-house work on County Road 220 and 377. And Hobson and the rest of the roads in Hobson will be completing design. And we plan on having like a townhouse meeting in Hobson in the near future to talk about the rest of the streets in Hobson and drainage. Yesterday, our county engineer and I had a meeting in Santa Maria with a citizen about the drainage issue at the old Snova store. I think we got that resolved. There's been lots of concerned citizens in precinct 2 about the material being moved from the Slick Wilcox site from DeWitt County to Karnes County. And got any questions about it, please call me and we will answer your questions. Tax annex building counter security glass is almost completed. We finished this week. Work at the auditor's office has been completed. Roof has been completed on offices of the square, and Renee will do a final walkthrough this Thursday. I'd like to thank Renee for all the work he's done on this project. And in closing, God bless America.
All right, Commissioner, Precinct 3.
Design work for County Road 306 and 400 has been completed, and work should begin in the next few weeks, weather permitting, of course. Shredding continues throughout the precinct. We're working on drainage for the town of Gillette. Also on County Road 298, drainage project was completed in May. That's all I have today.
Commissioner Precinct 4.
Been doing quite a bit of legwork on the cleanup of the property that we purchased with the precinct service center site. Been visiting this property on a couple items. Driving the roads are in good condition. I know that the shredding is also someone in my precinct, but I don't know who lives in there. That's all I've got, Judge.
Thank you. Item number 24, report from our tax assessor collector, our auditor, and our treasurer. Tammy?
Good morning, judges and commissioners. For 2025 for the month of May, the current month-to-date collections were $61,901.05. The current year-to-date was $21,023,657.63, with 98.22% collected. Last year, our collections were 98.24, so we're right on track. We're just a little tiny bit lower. And this morning when I left the office, it was 98.36. Our delinquent tax notices have been mailed out. We have lots of collections coming in. But as y'all can see with the big volume that we have, it's going to take a lot to get those percentages to go up a little bit. The delinquent month to date, the current was $19,354.31. The delinquent year to date is $417,026 with 20.15% collected. On the county INS, on the delinquent month to date, it was $3.72. The delinquent year to date was $1,661.20 with 13.38% collected. On the road and bridge, the current month to date was $10,508.24. The current year to date was $3,585,364.16 with 98.23% collected. The delinquent month to date was $3,328.98. The delinquent year to date was $68,830.30 with 19.25% collected. The split payments, if anybody is on split payments, they're due by June the 30th. If you walk into the office on July the 1st, penalties and interest will be added to it. So to make sure you do not have any penalties and interest, please be in our office before June the 30th to get those paid. And we're getting everything ramped up to get our 2025 taxes going. We've got the classes going on. We've got the refunds. We've got to get all the paper. We've got to get done, and we should have those certified values by July the 25th.
Awesome. You want to talk about license plate? Yeah. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No.
If you want me to,
No.
House Bill 50, I'll briefly talk about House Bill 518 is going into effect on July the 1st. House Bill 518 is where all the dealers have got to start getting online using web dealer. They walk into our office, we cannot help them at all. We have to tell them to go back to the dealer. TXDMV is sending metal plates to all dealerships across the state of Texas. They're going to be putting the plates on themselves. They're not coming into our office anymore. We will still be printing out the stickers because TXDMV does not want that sticker paper, which is an inventory item, to be going out. So things are going to be really fun at my office next month.
Thank you, Tammy. Tom?
All right, Corey, I should have a copy of my recap. So for the general fund right now, we've exceeded our ad valorem tax collections by about 0.59%. County sales tax, I know we've been trending below average, so we're about 5% below. Interest, we're at 83%. The target for the first 8 months, we're 2/3 into the year, is 66 and 2/3. The EMS receipts exceeded, they're at 87.3%, and the tax office fees at 94.51. 81, sorry. If you look at the expenses, so our expenses are only about 36.72%, so we're actually below an expenses at this point. Primarily, that's Sheriff's Department, there were some unspent funds that have been from previous vacancies, and also capital outlay. If you look at Road and Bridge, they've exceeded their ad valorem tax budget by about 0.35%. Interest, they're at 55.7 received, and then oil and gas is double from what our budget, and other revenues about 9%. So their total revenues are 13,385,076.27. Their expenses are close to that at 12,668,000. Our non-court bills, they're a lot less this time, and that's primarily to GEOs in process of bringing in a new contract, so that's the reason why that's less. So the total non-court bills were $3,396,229.63. The GEO portion is $2,146,249.16. Two payrolls of $657,835.19. Payroll taxes, insurance, $542,47.88. Utilities, $37,858.42, and other bills were $14,038.98. Our investments ended up at $101,791,366.19. Texas class of $27,658,799.10. Tax pool $42,277,781.01, and then multi-bank at $31,854,786.08.
Thank you. And while I do appreciate this recap, just for the court and department head going forward, I would like all of these things to come prior to court. The passing out of papers, I've had people from the audience, concerned citizens, whenever things get up here to court, it's not technically part of the package. So going forward, I would like this included before, so anybody that wants to see it, everybody gets to see it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Yes, sir.
All right, come on up.
Good morning, everyone. Balance as of April 2025, $106,862,440.60. Receipts for the month of May 2025, $8,993,686.64. Disbursements for the same time period, $12,653,445.92. Ending balance as of May 2025, $103,202,681.32.
Thank you, Vi. Any questions for Vi? If not, we'll move to item number 25, discussion/action regarding the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Officially welcome, Jamie.
Yay. Okay, item number 26, discuss/acknowledgement of personnel changes. This is reporting from all departments on any changes. And a couple of new hires and one in Road and Bridge that made it on this report. I did get a notification that we have somebody promoted in Road and Bridge, but that'll be on the next report. And also the Kennedy Library got their summer aide hired. Promotions, transfers, and reassignments. Did Tim retire? No.
Tim knows.
Okay, all right.
Tim Carey is going to retire.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, Sheriff's Department, these are promotions, transfers, reassignments, and the SO, Patrol Deputy Sergeant. Guess that's, we're just doing some reorganizing of the SO.
So we filled the slot just.
Yeah, good. No retirements, no resignations or terminations. We are currently hiring for the county clerk, deputy clerk. What? We have hired, yeah, I thought we did. Emergency management coordinator, finished up with interviews. Elaine's doing just a little more background check. We've got identified 2 candidates. I want to thank Casey and Scott that sat in with me for those interviews. I believe that we have identified a a strong candidate, so I'll be updating as that comes. Facility security officers, Sheriff and I and Elaine interviewed one. I think is gonna fit in another position, however, that position will serve to help out with the facility security. HR assistant, yay, interviewing right now. Karnes Wilson Juvenile Probation Department, y'all hear me talk about these every time. They're looking for an attendance specialist, an HHSC administrator. That is a part-time position. A prevention specialist, a ropes facilitator. Road and Bridge is looking for an operator 1, an operator 2, and a construction inspector. Sheriff's Department is looking for an administrative assistant, jailers, a dispatcher, and how many patrol deputies? 1 or 2?
No, well, like 5 or 6.
5 or 6 because of the
The promotion, yes.
promotions. Okay. So 5 or 6 if you want to come patrol. Thank you. All right, like I said, this report is current as of June 3rd, so some of those will come on the next one. Item number 27 is payment of bills.
Okay, Court, on the bills, the total, there was a dime change on one of the court reporters. We had keyed it wrong, it should have been 26 instead of 30. So the total is $477,658.19, which is substantially the rest of what we've been paying. General fund is $65,167.93. Emergency management $4,900. Road and bridge totals were $346,076.49. County library $2,865.67. County courthouse maintenance fund $45,590.93. Hot check escrow fund. So this was an old dormant fund that we've had for like 10 years. So I worked with the county attorney's office on it. We identified who the stakeholders are in that fund. So some of the money's coming to us, some of it's going back to bidders, and some of it's going to the state. So this closes that money I have been using over like 10 years. And the American Rescue was $10,011.61.
Let's go over the bills fairly short and sweet. I didn't see anything that caught major attention.
I have a couple bills I'd like to talk about. On page 5, there are a couple reimbursements. It's for the court's reference. These are, I'm questioning reimbursements for mileage to individuals. Our travel policy says travel expense forms must be completed for all requests for reimbursements for official county travel business. And that includes the form and the maps. So I've got 3 different reimbursements here that didn't have all those forms. I know 2 of them we were working with yesterday, those with you information.
Right, an extension service, yes. They did supply the maps.
On page 2, there's a reimbursement, it's the second item down for $183.40. If that individual has not provided the requested forms, I would to not pay that bill until they provide the forms that are in our policy.
I agree with Commissioner Beatrice. If one of us has to do it, I believe we should all follow the same. I think if Road and Bridge has to do it, if the commissioners have to do it, if the judge has to do it, if the county attorney has to do it, if the auditor has to do it, if we all have to do this policy, everybody needs to follow it. And I'm in agreement with Commissioner Beatrice on that.
We have to make a motion for that, sir.
Pull it.
Pull that out.
The motion would be to approve the bills, the amended bills, to pull that specific.
Until the documentation is received.
Correct, sir. If it is, it's not. We can tell you that.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended bill list, including the one I mentioned, for $183.40 until documentation is provided.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand for the amended. Anybody opposed? None. Motion carries. Item number 28, acknowledge the Commissioners Court will meet on June 24th, 2025, 9 a.m. and back in our historic courtroom over at the Karnes County Historic Courtroom, 101 North Panbury Avenue, Suite 200, Karnes City, Texas, 78118. Item number 29 is the motion to adjourn. We can go to work.
Move to adjourn.